So, you're new to pinball. You have questions, but maybe you don't know how to ask them. That's okay. In this series of videos, I plan to answer some of those basic questions. Makes sense to me. Funny thing is, this is actually a more simplistic underside of a playfield than some of the machines that I've dealt with. So looking at this honestly is easier to understand. But I figure doing what I just recently did with my Earthshaker restoration, I figured this would be a good time to show you guys more about how the machine works and why it does what it does. And in a nutshell, pinball machines are stupid. So this is another System 11 game, but this playfield is obviously different. We have coils in different positions, different light boards in different places, relays that do a number of things, and including obviously different mechs. But as you can see, I have all the different wire harnesses color-coded in a way, basically. They're all in their own little colors. So I have my high voltage, like my solenoids, in red. I have my switch in blue and my lights in yellow. Now, why did I do this? Because I just wanted to do something different, but I also wanted to do this particular video to give you guys a better visual on how a pinball machine does and why it does what it does, kind of thing. And there's a couple of ways I think I'm gonna try to explain this to you so you have a better idea. I mean, they're only as smart as their programming, so I would say that the older games are definitely my primary target for this topic, but even like the newer games essentially still respond and work the same way. They just have better programming to work around certain issues. Imagine that you are blind. The only way you can respond is when you are poked with a needle. If I were to poke your finger, chances are your brain will detect this and cause your muscles to retract from the needle. Now, I'm using a needle as the antagonist for this because they typically are found to be painful, which in turn causes your muscles to respond. And pinball machines are basically that. So your brain is basically the CPU board. It gets information from the nervous system or the switch matrix, and then it responds to these commands by firing the muscle or a solenoid. CPU, brain, switch matrix, the nervous system, solenoid, muscle. Our nervous system would detect a needle poke. Our brain would tell the muscle to react. And it all happens in a fraction of a second. I mean, just like a pinball machine. This is the switch. This also is the switch. The switch for the pop bumpers are these skirts that are down here. So you turn on your game and you get prompted with an error message. And that's because the game is programmed to know what it considers normal. So if anything is abnormal or not correct, the game is gonna let you know, whether it be an error message or it starts firing all the solenoids to try to find a missing pinball. No. So let's say you are missing a pinball or one is stuck somewhere on the playfield upon boot up. The game is going to kind of freak out and it's going to let you know that something isn't right.
What the fuck is this?
So your game is acting weird, strange things are happening, you need to think like a pinball machine. And the chances are the reason why your machine is doing what it's doing is because it's merely getting the signal from the playfield to react. One type of switch is an opto switch. There are two parts to these, one transmitter and one receiver. The transmitter is getting a constant 12 volts and lighting the infrared LED. The receiver is there to detect whether or not it's lit or it's not lit. And typically what breaks that beam is the ball. And so all it knows is whenever it sees the light and when it doesn't see the light. So what can change that? A ball passing through it, being dirty, or after a while these things do start to flake out and it starts to flicker on and off. But the machine doesn't see that as being a bad opto. It's gonna read basically the flickering as a signal that it's open, closed, open, closed, open, closed. There's your opto sensor, transmitter and receiver, one on each side. The game detects that I made that ramp because I'm breaking that beam. Thinks that I'm just nailing that ramp over and over again. Otherwise, it would have no clue where the ball is at here or here, but it would know for sure by breaking that opto right there. So for instance here, let's say that you are programmed to clap your hands every time you do not see the light on my flashlight. So let's just say it starts to flicker because it's a bad opto. You don't know that it's a bad opto. All you're merely going to do is do what your programming tells you to do, and that is fire a solenoid or clap your hands like I said. You would be clapping like a seal right now, and you don't know that you're clapping over and over again is right or wrong. You're just merely following the instructions for which you're programmed. And that's exactly what a pinball machine does. It doesn't know that the signal it's getting is improper. All it is just responding to what's going on. Now, faulty or dirty switches are merely a fraction of common problems when it comes to pinball ownership. And it's a good thing that all the solid states and up to the newer modern games have a built-in switch matrix test for you to utilize and go through and help you troubleshoot a problem. Now, a bad switch may not be the culprit to your problem, but it's never a bad place to start troubleshooting. So keep that in mind, that a lot of the times you need to think like a pinball machine, which isn't very hard because, again, these things are stupid.